Imagine walking through the dense, humid jungle just before dawn, when the air is thick with mist and the smell of earth and leaves is sharp in your nostrils. The canopy above is alive with the chatter of birds and the occasional distant roar of wild beasts. This is the heart of the forest, a place where every step could mean the difference between life and death. In this remote corner of the world, far from human civilization, a silent battle is unfolding, one that no one outside these woods will soon forget. It's a story about survival, unexpected friendships, and the powerful bond between two very different beings, a man and a gorilla. When a poacher, reckless and desperate, falls victim to the cruel trap he himself set, the forest seems to hold its breath. Left alone, injured, and helpless, his fate hangs in the balance. But in the shadows, a figure watches, one that most would never expect to show mercy. What happens next challenges everything we think we know about animals, humans, and the wild. It's a tale that will touch your heart, make you question what you believe about nature's laws, and remind us all that sometimes, the most unlikely heroes come from the most unexpected places. Get ready to step into the jungle, where danger lurks behind every tree, and hope comes in the form of a giant gorilla with a heart bigger than the forest itself. The jungle was waking up, but the air was still cool and heavy with mist. Leaves dripped with the night's rain, and the ground beneath was soft and uneven. The trees towered like ancient giants, their thick roots tangled in a chaotic web that made every step a careful calculation. This was a place where silence spoke louder than any voice, and every sound could tell a story. Deep in this wild maze, a man named James moved cautiously, his boots barely making a sound. He was no stranger to these woods, he had been coming here for months, setting traps and snares, hoping to catch something valuable to sell. But the forest was not kind to those who came with greed in their hearts. On this day, James's luck ran out. As he crept through the underbrush, he failed to notice the old wire snare stretched low between two trees. His foot caught the trap, and suddenly a sharp pain shot through his leg. He tried to pull free, but the metal tightened, biting into his flesh like a snake. Panic rushed over him as he realized he was caught, trapped by his own cruel device. The jungle, normally alive with sounds, seemed to fall silent around him. James groaned in pain, struggling to keep his balance as his leg throbbed fiercely. He knew the consequences of being caught here alone. The forest held many dangers, venomous snakes, hungry predators, and a harsh sun that could bake the earth by midday. Help was nowhere in sight. Far from James, deep inside a shaded clearing, a group of gorillas moved with quiet purpose. Their leader, a massive silverback named Kumba, had sharp eyes and a calm presence. He was a giant among giants, strong, wise, and fiercely protective of his family. Today, Kumba was restless. Something about the atmosphere in the forest had shifted, a tension that even the animals could feel. His keen senses picked up the faintest sounds, and he suddenly noticed a new scent, foreign and sharp, cutting through the usual jungle smells. Curiosity and caution pulled Kumba toward the source. As he approached, he spotted James, caught, wounded, struggling to stay upright. For a moment, Kumba hesitated. This was no ordinary creature, but a dangerous one. Poachers like James had destroyed many lives in this forest. But then, something inside the silverback stirred, an unexpected flicker of compassion. The jungle watched silently as the impossible began to unfold. Kumba stood still for a moment, his dark eyes fixed on the man trapped in the snare. The silverback's chest rose and fell slowly, as if he was weighing a choice no gorilla had ever faced before. Around him, the younger gorillas played and foraged, unaware of the silent drama unfolding nearby. James, meanwhile, was losing strength. His breaths came in shallow gasps as pain radiated through his leg, the metal cutting deeper with every movement. Sweat dripped from his forehead, mixing with the dirt and grime that covered his face. His eyes scanned the forest desperately, searching for any sign of rescue. But all he could hear was the eerie quiet, and the distant, haunting calls of monkeys high above. Fear was creeping into his heart. He had underestimated the jungle, and now it seemed the forest itself wanted him gone. But Kumba did something unexpected. Slowly, carefully, he approached the man. His massive frame moved with surprising grace, and despite his size, there was a gentleness in his step. James saw the gorilla coming closer and froze. Panic surged again. Was this the end? Would the beast attack? The stories he had heard about wild gorillas flashed through his mind, tales of brutal strength and fierce protectors of their territory. But Kumba did not show aggression. Instead, he reached out with one powerful hand, fingers trembling slightly as if unsure what to do. He touched the trap's wire, testing its strength and shape, his expression unreadable. Minutes passed as Kumba examined the cruel snare that held James captive. The silverback seemed to understand the pain the man was in. The trap was a symbol of suffering, no matter who it caught. Then, to James's surprise, Kumba used his strong fingers to start bending the wire. The man winced but stayed still, not wanting to scare the gorilla away. It was as if Kumba was deciding to help. In the distance, the younger gorillas watched with curious eyes, sensing the importance of the moment. James's mind raced. Could this be real? Was this giant creature about to save him? Suddenly, a rustling noise from the bushes startled them both. Kumba's muscles tensed as he turned sharply, ready to defend. But it was only a troop of monkeys swinging playfully from branch to branch. Relieved but still trapped, James looked back at Kumba with a mixture of hope and disbelief. The silverback returned to the snare, gripping the wire tighter, bending it slowly with immense strength. The forest, once a place of fear, had shifted. A silent pact was being formed between man and beast. With a loud snap, the wire finally gave way, loosening its grip around James's leg. Relief washed over him like a sudden rainstorm. He cautiously moved his leg, feeling the sharp sting of fresh wounds but grateful to be free. His breaths came faster now, fueled by a mix of pain and newfound hope. Kumba watched closely, making sure the man didn't suddenly try to run or act unpredictably. There was something about this moment that felt fragile, as if the balance between trust and fear was hanging by a thread. James lowered himself carefully to the ground, the pain shooting through his leg reminding him how vulnerable he truly was here. The forest was no friend to the weak. But Kumba didn't turn away. Instead, he crouched down beside James, his massive chest heaving, his eyes searching the man's face as if trying to understand him beyond the barriers of language and species. For a long time, neither moved. Then, almost as if sensing James's struggle, Kumba reached into a nearby pile of leaves and pulled out a bundle of soft plants, some kind of jungle herb. With surprising delicacy, he pressed the leaves against the injured leg, as if attempting to soothe the pain. James was too shocked to react at first. This was no ordinary animal. This was a guardian of the forest, showing a kindness that few humans deserved. Minutes passed, and slowly, James's breathing steadied. His eyes welled up, not just from the pain but from something deeper, a sense of connection he never thought possible. Suddenly, noises from the forest snapped both their attention back to the danger lurking nearby. A group of poachers, alerted by the broken trap and human scent, were closing in fast. They were merciless, hunting not just for profit but for domination of this wild land. Kumba's muscles tensed, his protective instincts roaring to life. The silverback let out a low, guttural sound. A warning that echoed through the trees like thunder. James scrambled to his feet, using Kumba as a shield as they prepared for the inevitable confrontation. The jungle was no longer just a place of survival, it had become a battleground. And in this fight, the line between human and beast was about to blur forever. The poachers crashed through the undergrowth, shouting orders and brandishing weapons that gleamed coldly in the filtered sunlight. Their faces were hard, eyes full of greed and cruelty, men who saw the forest as nothing more than a resource to be conquered. Kumba planted his feet firmly, towering like a living fortress between James and the intruders. His chest heaved as he let out a roar that shook the very leaves from the trees, a sound so powerful it seemed to echo through the heart of the jungle itself. The poachers froze for a moment, startled by the sudden display of raw strength and dominance. But greed quickly overrode fear. They raised their guns and advanced, intent on capturing or killing the giant guardian. James, though still injured, felt a surge of courage. He stepped forward, raising his hands in a gesture of peace but also defiance. "Stop," he shouted, voice raw but resolute. "This forest is not yours to destroy." For a brief second, the men hesitated, confused by the unity between man and beast. Then, without warning, chaos erupted. Kumba charged forward, moving faster than anyone expected from a creature so large. He slammed into the nearest poacher with a force that sent the man sprawling into the bushes. The others fired their guns, but the dense foliage and quick reflexes of the gorilla made their shots miss. James grabbed a sturdy branch and swung it at a second poacher who lunged at Kumba. The man stumbled back, shocked to be met with such unexpected resistance. The fight was fierce but brief. Kumba's strength and agility, combined with James's desperate determination, overwhelmed the poachers. One by one, they retreated, stumbling and cursing as they fled deeper into the jungle, their plans shattered. When silence finally returned, Kumba stood tall, chest heaving, eyes still scanning the trees for any sign of return. James limped toward the silverback, awe and gratitude filling his chest. "You saved me," James whispered, voice thick with emotion. "I don't know how to thank you." Kumba responded not with words, but with a gentle grunt and a nod of his massive head. It was a moment of understanding that transcended language, a bond forged in the wild, between a man who once sought to harm the forest, and a gorilla who chose to protect it. As the sun dipped lower, casting long shadows through the trees, James realized that his life had changed forever. He was no longer just a hunter, he was a witness to something extraordinary. And in that vast, untamed jungle, hope had found a way. As the forest settled back into its natural rhythm, James found himself sitting quietly beside Kumba, the massive silverback. The pain in his leg was sharp but dulling, replaced by a strange calm that only the jungle could offer. Around them, the sounds of the wild returned, birds singing, insects humming, and leaves rustling softly in the evening breeze. James looked at Kumba, trying to find the right words, but none seemed enough. "How do you thank a creature who saved your life without expecting anything in return? A creature who showed you mercy when you had done nothing but harm?" For years, James had been trapped in a cycle of greed and destruction, blinded by his own desperation. But today, something had shifted deep inside him. Watching Kumba, feeling the strength and kindness radiating from the silverback, he understood what truly mattered. "I won't be the man I was," James whispered, voice steady but filled with newfound purpose. "I promise I'll protect this place, your home." Kumba responded with a soft grunt, almost like a blessing, before turning and disappearing slowly into the thick foliage. The younger gorillas followed, their curious eyes casting one last glance back before vanishing into the green shadows. James stayed where he was, alone but not lonely. The jungle had given him a second chance, a chance to change, to become part of something bigger than himself. Days later, when the local rangers found James, they were shocked to hear his story. Not just the tale of how a gorilla saved him from certain death, but of his vow to defend the forest he once sought to exploit. Word spread quickly. What began as a desperate struggle for survival became a powerful message of hope and redemption. The man who once set traps was now their fiercest ally. And the silverback, the guardian of the jungle, became a symbol of nature's unexpected kindness, a reminder that even in the darkest places, there is light. Because sometimes, the wildest hearts beat with the greatest compassion.